I've got to do a little setup before we talk to Karen. It's so good to see her. The reason being, there's a few things we want to talk about. The Auditor-General has launched an inquiry into Oranga Tamariki's funding decisions for providers that roll out services to vulnerable children and youth. And to look into the procurement and contract management practices. Now, the statement on Parliament's website said concerns have been raised about the processes Oranga Tamariki has followed to manage its contracts with social service providers, particularly its decision-making process for the 24-25 contract round. The Ministry for Children funds a large range of programs delivered by external care providers. They include counselling for children, social workers in schools, teen parent units, wraparound support for neurodivergent children, support for foster parents and family and sexual violence programs. So there's a lot there, but we're going to get into this with the Minister of Children, Karen Chhour. Again, hello.
Hello.
It is so, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you.
Great to be here again.
So can we, just a little quiet there, just move up there. We're just moving things around. Firstly, Karen, can we go back a step? This year you asked Oranga Tamariki to make sure the hundreds of service providers, and there's a lot, that were having their contracts reviewed were properly assessed line by line. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. And it's really important that there is some accountability when it comes to services being provided to our most vulnerable.
Yeah, because these contracts were valued at more than $500 million. And you said for too many years, Oranga Tamariki has seen the cash cow for community service providers who say they will provide services. Now, do you still stand by that?
Oh, yeah, I stand by my statement. I mean, there might have been some organisations that genuinely were providing a service that may have got caught up in this, but that was through the shambles of the way the contracting has been done over the years, where duplication was allowed and where underutilisation was allowed as well. And so it set the tone to be business as usual, which should never have happened. So we're just resetting the obligations and the expectations that when it is underutilisation, we need to have that money back. And also, if it's duplication, that service could be provided somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so we need to make sure that we're getting good value for money and that the money is going towards the children. And I'll never apologise for putting our children first.
So today, correct me if I'm wrong, 190 providers have been axed and 142 have had their money reduced. Has there been a reduction to frontline services?
Yeah, so I think this is where people get a little bit confused.
Right. Unconfuse us, Karen.
Some providers provide multiple services. So just because a service has been discontinued doesn't mean that provider has been discontinued. It's the service that they're providing. Some services provide heaps of different kinds of contracts under Oranga Tamariki, not just one contract.
Sure.
So we had to go through each contract line by line. So yes, there have been some that may have had to change the way that they provide services within their agency, but it's an absolute necessity for them to get back to the basics and look at what is Oranga Tamariki here for. It's here for our most vulnerable children. It's here to make sure that we take care of those that are in the care of Oranga Tamariki and those that come to the attention of Oranga Tamariki. And that's not a small number.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last financial year, from what I can remember, there was around 75,000 reports of concern.
Oh my gosh.
Each and every one of those young people has had a report of concern come in, and there has to be a reason for that. It might be little, it might be big, but each one of those has to be assessed to make sure that we're providing them with the care that they need.
Yeah.
And that's where the resources need to be aimed at, to make sure that they are getting the care that they need.
So the way I'm seeing it, some providers claim that they were left in a period of limbo with little or no communication or explanation about their contracts. Is that what you think is their kind of beef?
Yeah, and we're learning as we go along. This was a massive task for Oranga Tamariki to take on.
Yeah.
This was hundreds and hundreds of contracts that they needed to look at. And
sorry, Karen, but how many years did this build up?
I'm sure it's been for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to have a good reset. Where are we at? what money have we got, and where can we
Where's it
actually be
going?
making the biggest difference? And that's really important. And we've learned along the way. There might have been times where communication could have happened a bit better, and we'll learn from that. But at the end of the day, this is about the children, and this is making sure that they get the care they need.
So the Auditor-General announced on Monday it had set the terms of reference for the inquiry, which will examine the process by which Oranga Tamariki decided to renew, vary or allow to expire contract services. Are you confident with how the process has been handled?
Oh, I think the Auditor-General has a job to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually a really important role. Scrutiny is a really important role. We should never go without scrutiny.
Yeah.
So there may be lessons to be learned.
Previous governments showed us that.
Yeah. And there may be lessons to be learned along the way. And it's important that we hear that and that we learn from that moving forward. But what I would say is we really need to take a good hard look at ourselves. Never have we spent so much money on our social services, but have the outcomes got any better for society? And no, they haven't, in my opinion. And so we need to take the money we've got and make sure we're getting the best outcomes for that. And I look forward to hearing what the Auditor-General has to say. And hopefully he looks into the whole process, because as he said in his scope, contracts have to be managed well from beginning to end.
Yep.
And so let's make sure we're getting this right.
And you know what? Even a contract is a contract, even outside of in any contract you take. It's not, you know, it's finite. It's not infinite. You know, a contract will end. And I get the feeling that, like you said, $500 million is being spent, and are we getting a better service? No, we're not. So you have to look at, you know, I'm not saying that some contractors were just really taking the mickey, but like you said, if there's double ups, if there's a better way for the money to be spent, of course that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, and whilst the decisions are operational, from my point of view, Oranga Tamariki can reserve the right not to continue a contract.
Yes.
If it's not suiting the purpose of the direction that Oranga Tamariki is going. And I think this is a really valuable lesson that whilst, yes, you've got a contract, it can't be business as usual with the expectation that it's just going to roll over with no scrutiny. That's not going to happen anymore, and we're going to be very careful with taxpayers' money.
So when the Auditor-General comes back with the findings, what could happen? Is there, because I don't know, is there authority, does he have the authority to demand you reinstate some providers?
Oh, look, the Auditor-General can give feedback, he can give recommendations, but at the end of the day, it's Oranga Tamariki's operational decisions around how they contract and how they spend their money. We might hear back some concerns, and we can take that on board, and we can either accept or not accept those recommendations. But at the end of the day, like I said, we needed some real change. We couldn't keep going down the road we were going. The outcomes for our young people were not getting any better, and we had to make some pretty tough decisions. We had to do what everybody else has been asked to do in this country, take a good look at how much money you've got, how much you're spending, and make sure that those two match.
Yeah. I'm with Karen Chhour, Minister for Children, in the studio. We, of course, are talking, we're going to cover a few things actually, and I'd love to talk now about the military-style academies, and the residence portion is complete. Boy, that's gone fast.
Yes, it's gone really fast.
That's gone fast. So just to remind everyone, this was the pilot program in Palmerston North and had 10 young people, and it's wrapping up, and they're now transitioning back into the community. Now, they had 3 months there, is that correct?
Yeah, 3-month in-resident program, yes.
And can you, before you tell us what happens now with them, while they were there, what was happening to them for those 3 months? What did the program consist of?
Oh, so the programs consisted of just giving them some routine, some balance in their life and some certainty in their life of what's going to happen next. There were programs being run within education, they had a carpentry shed that was put on site for them. There was a whole lot of things going on. We had the local iwi had some involvement, and I'm really proud actually of how agencies, communities, mentors, social workers and Oranga Tamariki workers have all come together, put together this amazing program for the betterment of our young people. It shows it can be done when you put your mind to it and you say, hey, it's not about us, it's about these young people. And they've done an absolutely fantastic job. I'm just so proud of what I saw at the graduation the other day, with young people with their heads high, proud of themselves. And I mean, I can get quite emotional about this because from the first day I met them, where they looked at the ground and couldn't look me in the eye, to the last day, where they were standing with smiles on their faces, confidence, and their family around them being proud of them too.
Oh, nice.
That to me is success.
That's fantastic. And we didn't hear anything, there wasn't any breakouts or them standing on roofs or demanding KFC. They all went...
No, none of that.
They all did what they did.
None of that.
And they graduated.
Yeah.
So now that they've graduated... and there were cultural components in there as well. There was there any rehabilitation of sorts that needed to be done with the kids?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was part of their plan that was put together. So there was work with whānau and the young people. There was work with a mentor and the young person. And there was also work on their own selves with professionals that came in and did sessions with them. I mean, we've got to realise these are still young people.
Yeah. What was the ages, Karen?
15 to 17.
Yeah.
They have committed some pretty serious crimes.
Yeah.
But they're still young people.